On behalf of the Drum and the Guardian US, I'm delighted to welcome you to our business breakfast. In fact, our first programmatic business breakfast in the US. We're in the US here for about 18 months. We are here to stay, and really our mission is to be the first truly global media brand. The programmatic breakfast is part of a much bigger thing. It's part of the Digital Trading Awards programme in association with our friends at Media IQ. The Trade Desk, OpenX, the Weather Company, Teats, 4As, and Tint. So all of those organisations have helped us massively.
We have a strong relationship with the Drum in the UK. We always support independent, thoughtful, courageous journalism. We welcome the Drum pretty much straight out of the gate.
So Ronan is going to lead the conversation. We do have great experts here who are going to take part.
One in particular, probably the biggest one in the industry, I've heard quite a lot of people saying there's something wrong there. The one that is transparent about not being transparent.
The onus here is really about looking at how we can create an ecosystem of transparency that is bi-directional. So it's not just increasing transparency from vendors and agencies to advertisers, but it's how can we facilitate an ecosystem in which advertisers are more willing to share their data so that we can take the whole industry to a next evolution.
When you look at things like malware, malvertising, everyone in the chain bears some responsibility for letting in potentially a bad ad. At the same token, if a consumer sees that the publisher got paid $1 CPM and the advertiser is paying $10, you got to ask some questions.
Basically a payment ID. That is
payment ID.
Payment ID, yeah. And in essence, it tracks and helps build transparency around all the different kind of folks in the ad call and where all those different calls are being made, and ultimately will help us better understand who's ultimately getting paid at the end of the day.
One of the biggest ways to combat fraud is to change the way that people are measured. So that things like CPMs and CTR are no longer the pervasive metric to measure success, but you start looking at actual actions and business actions rather than online media proxies.
Who's bringing the pressure on these vendors to say, look, you guys have to come up with the same figures, otherwise we're just wasting our money with all of you. Somebody else could just come along.
Things like viewability are just kind of intermediate metrics that are like, oh, did someone see my ad? Well, okay, they saw it, but did they actually pay attention to it? Did they ignore it? These things, we need to try to get closer and closer to actual revenue.
You have to show brand impacting, customer impacting, growth impacting numbers in advertising, otherwise you're a cost center.
Is it that what's available on digital isn't useful, or is what they're doing on non-digital so much better?
If I get this TV spot that people can see and I know that's going to hit, whichever audience I'm intending to, and I see the direct correlation in a lift in straw polls, it's very hard to have that same measurement within the digital side. Because even though we're able to measure the statistics that happen within digital, still are siloed from the real world in a lot of ways.
Ad blocking, okay. What's the state of it? Obviously, this is something you follow very, very closely.
Ad blocking is not exactly the solution, it's just the symptom to a much bigger problem, right? And we need to think kind of collectively as an industry how to solve the fundamental problem, which is user experience.
I'm a male or a female. I have an infant and a toddler in my house. Please don't tell my husband because our kids are 26 and 19. What data is being fed to you that's driving your targeting?
20% of people blocking 100% of the ads that they would otherwise see is far worse than 100% of people blocking 20% of the ads that they would otherwise see. Being able to weed out advertising and these other things by being able to identify the advertiser perfectly, by being able to see where the money goes, who gets the money, what intermediaries are involved. If we put that infrastructure in place, I would be the first person to say, don't block ads.
As we're creating this
culture of transparencies between agencies, advertisers, and vendors, one of the things that we have to look at is, one, is the quality of data, two, ensuring that we have bidirectional data flow, and then three, really how that data is being attributed and measured.
There's a lot of systemic problems with the ad industry as it exists today. I think that a lot of those problems can be addressed by the stakeholders being more transparent with one another and frankly being more transparent with the consumer.
Ultimately, we have a KPI problem in the industry that we need to solve, and there's no simple solution to it given the fragmentation of media consumption across devices. But ultimately, that understanding of what is successful and what's not will drive the programmatic conversation forward.
Ad tech's actually in the best position to help brands achieve their broader goals, but they have to think about what those broader goals are. What metrics, what value, what growth opportunities does that provide back to the brand? If you think like a marketer, then you're going to help them reach their goals better.